investing in property that's over 100 miles away. Should that be something you consider doing in terms of investment purposes? Because a lot of people think about managing their own portfolio or at least going to visit their own properties. And if you're thinking over 100 miles, then that's not really practical, is it? To be able to go and view those properties and to manage those properties as well. So I'm going to give you two different viewpoints when it comes to investing in properties that's way out with your current area. So the first viewpoint is in the sense of using a letting agent or a management agent to manage a property portfolio. I'm going to talk about that because once we start to understand the power of leverage, and the power of leverage is in two ways: leveraging other people's time as well as leveraging other people's money. And in the world of property, you've got to leverage both of those. And this falls into leveraging other people's time. Because if you've got a letting agent who's going to manage your property portfolio, they're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And with that there put in mind, it means that you don't need to be living near to your investment properties. You can own property anywhere in the UK, from the Aberdeen all the way down to London, as an example. But it becomes a challenge for most people when you're thinking about having to manage your portfolio yourself. And of course that there makes it a lot more difficult because you can't be at all those places and it just takes up so much time for travel. There's a lot of expense involved in that as well. And we've got to follow where the right goldmine areas are. Now, we're very grateful that the UK has so many hot spots for you to consider investing. Like take, for example, Scotland. The best place in Scotland in terms of to invest is across the Central Belt. Does that mean that you can't get deals further north or further south? Absolutely. There's going to be deals there as well. And this is the same throughout the whole of the UK. But there's going to be certain sweet spots that are better than others. So in your goldmine area where you're considering investing, you want to make sure that it ticks a lot of boxes in a good area for you to then build a buy-to-let portfolio, as an example, or have multi-lets as HMOs. Has it got a good demand in that marketplace for that? Or of course the other buy-to-hold strategy, service accommodation. Is it the short-term holiday let, contractor market? Those types of people will open it up to more options for you to consider when it comes to investment purposes. So when you think about a goldmine area, a lot of people in the beginning of their journey start thinking about their own location, where they currently live. And then they get surprised when they hear someone saying, well, this is a hot spot for investing, this is a great goldmine area, it ticks all the boxes, and it happens to be significantly further away from where you are. And I hear a lot of people that give the advice is that you always want to buy property that's within an hour's drive to where you stay. Again, that's on the assumption that you're going to manage your own portfolio. Now, let's just address that for a second and then we'll get into the hot spots and goldmine areas. Now, if you're going to attempt to manage your own property portfolios, then I'm going to try to discourage you here to do that. Because isn't the goal when you start to invest in property is to have the income that comes in to build a lifestyle that's going to benefit you? There's many people that come through our programs and want to learn about property with the purpose of becoming a full-time property investor and developer, so that they've got property to replace their income. Now they build a property business, flip properties, build a portfolio, go into some of the other strategies as well. And off the back of that, what I encourage them when they're considering wanting to have a full-time property business is to think about running and building the business, not getting caught up in all the ins and outs such as managing property. That's why you leverage, like I spoke about, leveraging other people's time, leveraging your letting agent's time and their expertise and knowledge on how to manage a property portfolio, how to find the right tenants, how to maximise the income that can be achieved, to go and do all the setup which is required when you have a property that you're renting out, to make sure everything's compliant, to make sure you're doing all your landlord's duties as well, and more importantly, to look after that tenant, to manage your portfolio. And for what? What do they charge? 10% is normally the rate. You can even get it a little bit cheaper than that. But 10%, so if you're collecting £800 a month rent, you're only paying £80 a month for that letting agent to manage your property. And they put in so much time and effort over and above that, that's why they need volume in order to make it worthwhile to run a letting agent business. So they're experts in that game. They understand the letting side of things, attracting the right tenants. And anytime I hear horror stories from landlords about bad tenants, most of them I'm talking about 80% of them. A bad tenant has been because the landlord themselves chose the tenant, didn't do all the checks that were required, and of course didn't know how to keep the property to the standard it's supposed to be from a rental point of view, having to chase and collect the rent, get too involved with the tenant, and everything else that you just shouldn't do starts to come into play. So you want to avoid any of that. And that's why I encourage people to build a business and build a lifestyle that's going to best suit you. Like many people who don't want to be full-time in property or don't want to be, quitting what they're doing, whether it's employment or the business they're in, to become a property investor or developer and build that business. They invest in property because they want the income, they want the lifestyle, they want to be an investor, so they've got extra money coming in over and above what they're doing, and that's the appeal of building a portfolio. And those people especially, they will always consider having a letting agent, at least a vast majority of them. Why? Because they're still focusing in their career, they're still focusing on other interests, and they're more open to hand it over to the experts. You need to have that same mindset, leveraging other people's time. If you leverage other people's time, then you can buy property anywhere in the UK. Because it's not you necessarily that's going to go and have to do the viewings, to go and do the checks of the property, to go and chase up the tenant, having to sort any issues. It's just way out of your sight. And then the next part ties into in terms of investing. So again, if you've got a good gold mine area, then if you understand those locations, then from your point of view, in the early days of your journey, you're going to go and view properties in and around that location. So I've got property all over the UK. The vast majority of my property portfolio is across the central belt of Scotland. I've got a lot through going down into Ayrshire. I've got some further north, and I've got a few down south as well. And this is in England. So with that portfolio scattered around everywhere, I have a number of different agents who look after those properties in different locations. But more importantly for me, at a stage when you understand how to do your due diligence, and you've been in so many properties in your gold mine area in terms of viewing properties, you understand the refurb costs, you understand all the purchasing costs, you're getting good at your due diligence, then the reality is you can have people in those locations do a video walkthrough with their phone, take pictures. You also have a valuation report, or if you're in Scotland, a home report, and you can have a trusted person in that location to do those video walkthroughs and pictures to report back. And this here is where it comes with more knowledge and understanding of property. Because in the beginning, and I recommend everyone does this, is to pick a gold mine area that is closer to you for the purposes of getting the viewings in, to understand property, to start identifying different property types, to identify the opportunities, to get familiar with estate agents and viewing properties with sellers and negotiating. This is all the basic stuff in order to get your reps in to understand property, to then be doing your due diligence, working out refurb costs, making offers. So the more that you can do that at the beginning, then you're going to transition into a position later on, once you're really good at understanding locations and areas and doing your due diligence, then you can look at opportunities anywhere in the UK. Properties will come your way, you can expand your reach in terms of where you're going to add to your portfolio, which is actually going to make you a lot more competitive. Because like I said at the beginning here, if you're just focused on the central belt of Scotland as an example, that's where the vast majority of people are. So for me, I had a lot of my properties and a lot of my focus in Ayrshire because less people were there. There's still other investors, but less in comparison to the central belt. So it opens up you being a bit more competitive to be able to get deals that are further away. And what I then did was form relationships in those locations so that if I couldn't get out to get a viewing, I could pick up the phone to one of my trusted estate agent contacts, or one of my associates that I joint venture with, or someone that I knew that had a recommendation to reach out that could go and do a viewing for me. And off the back of that, give them a viewing checklist, and again, those pictures and stuff. All I need to do is do my due diligence, and if I chose to, then go and view the property if I'm looking to proceed with it, having done all my due diligence, or in some cases, not even having to view the property. And that was one of the big things that held me back for the first maybe 10 years in my property journey. Because the first 10 years of my property journey, I had a mindset and belief that I had to be close by, had to be within an hour, I had to go and view every property before I go and buy it. And you've maybe heard some people say, never buy a property you've never been in yourself. Well, I've not viewed properties for over 10 years now, Because my team do it. And that's the idea of building a business, isn't it? Leveraging the team, leveraging your power team in terms of your letting agents and everyone else involved in there, so that you ultimately can focus on what the investor should focus on, which is doing your due diligence on potential investment opportunities, raising the finance to be able to do a lot more deals, and then having that lifestyle that you truly want to live for yourself. That's the reason why you got involved in property in the first place. So to summarize here, you can own property anywhere. It shouldn't hold you back if it's over 100 miles, providing you're going to leverage that power team and providing you know how to do your due diligence and understand to make investment decisions. Then you can invest anywhere, not just anywhere in the UK, but anywhere in the world, if you've got the right people around you to think bigger than just yourself. So something for you to consider. So on that note there, if you've got any questions with regards to some of the things that I've covered, or you've got a different belief system yourself and whether you think you should buy locally or you should have your own, manage your own properties, I'd love to hear your thoughts on why that's the case. So drop them in the comments below. I'll be sure to go in there to respond. And until next time, all the best and bye for now.